Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here, and welcome to another episode of Wiz Reviews Raw. Now, I'm not going to dress it up, this wasn't the best show in the world, but at the same time, it wasn't the worst show in the world, and I feel like we need to give WWE a bit of credit. They were trying to cram a lot in here. It was a double taper. Of course, we saw the first half last week, the second half this week, in preparation for their tour of the UK, my neck of the woods, and I'm a bit gutted I didn't book to go and see a WWE live event because they always deliver. Why didn't I do that? But at least there's hope, I suppose, for us UK residents that potentially we get Elimination Chamber next year. But that's a different story for a different time. Now, although it wasn't the best show in the world, there were still some storyline progressions and superstars from other brands coming over to say hello and getting rejected, which we'll come on to in a moment. Now, as always, I've made notes to review the show. And as always, of course, get down in the comment section, share your thoughts and opinions. And at the top of my list, I've got none other than the Wyatt-sicks. Now, the Wyatt-sicks weren't on the show, but there was a major tease for next week's episode of Raw. Potentially, I will say, involving the Wyatt-sicks. Now, this all started with a matchup between The Miz and R-Truth. A match that nobody is ever going to remember. It was a quick match. R-Truth got the victory. Nobody really cared about the match. But the talk of the town was the glitches in between this match. Now, we got not that many talking points, but seemingly a major angle that's going to progress involving the Wyatt-sicks, The Miz, and potentially Final Testament. Now, we got coordinates, which led to a specific location, and that location being none other than the Wells Fargo Centre. And you probably think, what's the relevance of that? Doesn't really mean anything. Now, of course, that is where next week's Raw is going to be. But more importantly, that's where Bray Wyatt made his historic return at Extreme Rules 2022. With everything coming full circle, you've got to think there's a major angle involving the Wyatt-sicks in the Wells Fargo Centre. I would not be surprised if we see something as major as Alexa Bliss returning or something like that. And you've also got to remember, a couple of weeks ago, there was a YouTube video link to the Bray Wyatt return, which was in the Wells Fargo Centre, as I said before. So something big is going to go down. A lot of people not drawing the parallels and attention to detail when it comes to the location, Extreme Rules, Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt-sicks, and connecting it all together. So watch out, Miz. You can guarantee that Uncle Howdy is watching Miz. He thinks he's nothing, literally. And there's this war, seemingly, between Uncle Howdy, the Miz, and potentially Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross firing back a message that seems to be for the Wyatt-sicks also. Now, not only did we get coordinates, we also got biblical references, potentially messages to the Miz, potentially messages to Karrion Kross. We don't know. Reading between the lines, we probably say it's to the Miz. But the talk of the town, and we cannot for one single second leave this out, is this image. This image still is haunting me. It is haunting me because I can't work out for the life of me who is in this distorted image. It could literally be anyone. It could be Karrion Kross and Scarlett. It could be Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. It could be Liv and Raquel. It could be Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, that version of Nikki Cross. Or it could be The Miz and Maurice. Or someone else. Is there someone else I'm missing out? It could literally be anyone, and still I can't work out who it is. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like this week's episode of Monday Night Raw showcased the women. I think a lot of the women actually got a little bit of the spotlight, and I'm all down for it. And of course, it all started with Rhea bloody Ripley coming out to the ring, wanting revenge on Liv and Raquel. And she got interrupted by none other than Tiffany Stratton. You guessed it, and I love the way that Rhea Ripley sort of sold the element of surprise. She was looking like, what the heck is going on? But at the same time, with this look of disgust on her face. Like, how dare Tiffy come down to the ring? And Tiffy basically delivered a message to Rhea in regards to Nia Jax. Watch out, because Nia Jax doesn't take anything lightly. You can't deliver a big boot to Nia Jax and get away with it. And then, of course, and you knew it was coming, Liv and Raquel came out to beat up Tiffy and Rhea. And then, of course, it was announced seemingly out of nowhere that Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton were going to tag up. That's right, Tiffy and Rhea as a tag team, like, what the heck? Versus, of course, Liv and Raquel. And the first thing that came to my mind is a nickname for Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton, because they're such opposing talents. You got Tiffy dressed in pink, you got Rhea all in black. The contrast was brilliant, and I was thinking Beautiful Nightmare or something like that. That would be a pretty cool name for the tag team. But clearly WWE are teasing, testing the water for a Tiffy face turn, which is surely going to happen down the line when she cashes in on Nia, and that is going to be sweet. But Tiffy was still delivering these heel characteristics, and she wasn't exactly endearing to the fans. So still they're committing to this heel version of Tiffany Stratton. But they'll switch that a little bit for SmackDown, play the sympathy card when, of course, Nia bullies Tiffany all over again. But nevertheless, we got this matchup. We knew it wasn't going to be clean because we knew that Nia Jax was going to come out of nowhere and cause the DQ. And that's exactly what happened. But not only that, she set up, literally left Liv Morgan in the corner of the ring, ready to be cashed in on. And then, of course, we knew it wasn't going to happen. They teased Tiffany Stratton cashing in. We knew on a pre-taped episode of Raw they weren't going to give this away, because this would have definitely been exposed by idiot fans, wouldn't it? The previous week, they were live in attendance and thought it would be a great idea to expose what happened that week. But then, of course, like a knight in shining armour, Dominic Mysterio came down to the rescue of Liv Morgan. So Liv Morgan is still safe. She's still world champion, and we're still going to get Liv Morgan, the women's world champion, versus Nia Jax, the women's WWE champion, at Crown Jewel. Now, talking of women, I think there was a lot of spotlight on the women's division. We, of course, got a women's tag team match between the current champions, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, taking on, of course, Damage Control. Kairi Sane and Io Sky are absolute fire in the ring. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are fire in the ring, and I never thought I'd say that about Jade Cargill. She's improved a lot. She's not obviously on Bianca Belair's level, but since teaming alongside Bianca Belair, you can see that Jade Cargill is a genuine, credible threat. And of course, the tag team champions got the victory. But ones to watch out with on the sidelines, stirring the pot a little bit, are of course Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. Definitely got an it factor, those two. Those are definitely ones to watch out for. They seem to make a point of showcasing them, and I'm all down for it. Of course, they lost their matchup against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair on this week's episode of SmackDown in a pretty quick fashion. It was, 2.5 minutes they got? But what we have seen from them already is a lot of promise. And I think they're going to be a major hit on the main roster. Surely they're going to get a call up very, very soon. They've certainly got that it factor. Now, we did get a really meaningful promo from Bron Breakker, and I say that because he explained his actions of last week. It was a bit random at the time. You thought Bron Breakker just having this complete U-turn, seemingly looked like he was going to be a face, literally facing up against Gunther, teasing a match against him, and then spearing the living daylights out of Jey Uso. And his reason for it is he feels quite simply that Jey Uso doesn't respect him. Doesn't respect him as much as he respects the Intercontinental Championship, and basically feels that Jey Uso is leeched off his family. I suppose in a way you could say that Bron Breakker not only has an issue with Jey Uso in terms of not giving him enough respect back, but also at the same time feels like he was a little bit selfish, went out on his own when, of course, Roman Reigns was the head of the table, the tribal chief. Jey Uso wanted the glory by himself, and basically said that now he doesn't have his family now, that his family aren't going to be there to save him. And that is where this segues nicely into, of course, Jimmy Uso. Because Jimmy Uso popped up on this week's episode of Raw and seemingly, well, not seemingly, he wants Jey Uso's help. They need the numbers. They are getting decked over on SmackDown against the Bloodline 2.0, this new vicious outlaw version of the Bloodline, and he wants Jey's help. And it's definitely a no from Jey at the moment. This is going to be a slow burner. Jey doesn't trust Jimmy. Jey definitely doesn't trust Roman Reigns, and this is going to play out over time. But they've pretty much all but said, without saying, that Bron Breakker is going to beat the living daylights out of Jey Uso, and the family's not going to be there until they are. And you know full well that Jimmy Uso is going to come over to the rescue, and then Jay is going to start to believe more in his brother, believe more in his family. And hey, let's just cut to the chase. It's going to be the OG Bloodline versus the new Outlaw Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games, and it's going to cook. Now, we got the return of the War Raiders, not the Viking Raiders, the slightly stripped down version of the War Raiders, and I don't mind it. They seem to be a little bit more human, a little bit less Viking, obviously. And of course, they destroyed the Alpha Academy. Poor old Akira Tozawa and Otis. Since the whole Alpha Academy break, well, it's not really, because they're still calling themselves randomly Alpha Academy. Like, what's that all about? But of course, since the break and split from Chad Gable as their leader, they haven't been booked great. Justice for Otis. Justice for Akira Tozawa. They are not getting booked the way they could be or should be. And I feel a little bit sorry for them. They just got absolutely steamrolled by, of course, the returning War Raiders. And yeah, that heats up the War Raiders, makes them a serious, credible act in the tag team division. But what does that say about Otis and co? Like, literally, they've just been forgotten about. And I just felt a bit sorry for them. Like, the wyattsicks came in, sort of took the spotlight, and yeah, understandably so. Of course they were going to. But I feel like Otis and Tozawa kind of just got put on the back burner and doesn't really feel right, doesn't sit well with me as a WWE fan. So hopefully they heat him up soon. But for the moment, they're just getting absolutely pummeled. Now, one thing WWE did really well, of course, it being a 2-hour format, you're not going to be able to get everybody on the show. And there were some absolute fire video packages, mainly Dragon Lee. I thought that was a really, really good promo from him. And of course, we got a promo with American Made, and I got behind him. It just made me dig the obnoxious, arrogant, self-centered narcissist in Chad Gable, basically saying that American Made were the best thing since sliced bread. And I didn't mind it. I loved it. Now, talking of Bron Breakker, of course, Bron Breakker absolutely steamrolled Kofi Kingston. There were times where, of course, in the match, Kofi Kingston got a little bit of offense, but you know which way, or you knew which way this was going to go. Only one way, with Bron Breakker getting the victory. More tease, friction, tension, if you like. Tease between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So seemingly teasing a New Day split. Inevitably, surely that's going to happen. Xavier Woods refusing to acknowledge Jey Uso, who of course tried to save the game, sort of cleared out the ring, went after Bron Breakker, which he would after getting speared the previous week. But Xavier Woods ain't having any of it. He is not having a minute of it. He is not happy with Xavier Woods. He's sick of being this afterthought. And I never thought I'd say it in 2024, but I look forward to Xavier Woods segments. I really do. I thought the New Day were tired and burnt out, and to a certain extent, I suppose they are. But this latest dynamic between Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston and the New Day potential split is really intriguing. Is it genuinely possible that Xavier Woods turns heel? I think it is. And of course, I'm going to finish off with what was one of the most noteworthy segments of the show. One of the most noteworthy interactions, of course, Gunther and Cody Rhodes. This was fire. A nice back and forth. You thought that Gunther was just going to be this respectful champion. Didn't have a bad word to say about Cody Rhodes. And then he couldn't resist poking the bear, could he? He couldn't. Basically describing Cody Rhodes as a secondary champion. Gunther believes he's Cody Rhodes' superior. And Cody Rhodes, quite rightly, put him in his place. Basically said that Gunther thinks he's in deep waters, but his feet are still just touching the floor. I did think they were going to give a few references, throwbacks to the Royal Rumble of the previous 2 years. Of course, Cody Rhodes and Gunther being the last two members of the 2023 Royal Rumble, with, of course, Cody Rhodes, obviously, if they're the last two, eliminating Gunther. And, of course, eliminating Gunther at, what, number 28 in the 2024 Royal Rumble. But I thought maybe Cody Rhodes would big up Gunther for 2023. That he lasted an hour and, 11 minutes or whatever it was, when Gunther entered at number 1 and got all the way to the end. I thought maybe he'd acknowledge that. But Cody Rhodes is not stupid. He's not a dumb baby face. He's not going to give anything to Gunther. And of course, those two are going to face off at Crown Jewel in a champion versus champion match for the Crown Jewel Championship, which I couldn't give a damn about, to be honest with you. But the match itself, I'm really invested in. I can't wait for Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. And I think this set the stage for that match really well. It gets you intrigued. It gets you excited. It gets you frothing at the mouth for this match. And that's exactly what WWE want to do. So I thought I'd close with that because I thought that was a really interesting point. But overall, it was all right, wasn't it? It wasn't the best show in the world. It really wasn't, but it wasn't the worst at the same time. What did you think? Get down in the comments section, share your thoughts and opinions. And as always, it'd be very much appreciated if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new, and we will catch you in the next one.